The funeral program is still on my passenger seat when I pull into the Summit Edge parking lot at 6:23 a.m. Harold James Peterson, 1951 to 2024. Beloved father, dedicated teacher, faithful friend. I should throw it away, I don't. Instead, I tuck it into my bag alongside the sympathy cards I haven't opened, and the voicemail from my mother I haven't returned. Grief has a weight to it, not metaphorical but actual. My shoulders ache from carrying it. The office building looks different somehow. Same glass and steel structure I've entered 1,000 times, but the angles seem sharper this morning, less forgiving. Or maybe I'm the one who's different. 3 days ago, I stood in a cemetery watching them lower a casket into red Idaho clay. Yesterday, I sat in my childhood home sorting through a lifetime of belongings, tackle boxes and lesson plans and photographs of a man who taught me that integrity matters more than convenience. Today, I'm back at work. Because that's what you do. You grieve on your own time, then you show up and pretend the world didn't fundamentally shift. The elevator is empty. I press 7 and watch the numbers climb, my reflection staring back from the chrome doors. Holly Peterson, 34, regional team lead, 5 years of service, currently holding together with coffee and denial. My father used to say I got my stubbornness from him. Peterson women don't break, he'd joke. We just get quieter until everyone else realizes they should be worried. I'm very quiet right now. The office lights flicker on automatically as I walk through, motion sensors registering my presence in the pre-dawn darkness. My desk sits in the corner with the good window view, a privilege I earned by delivering results that made other divisions jealous. The small cactus plant my team gave me last Christmas looks cheerful and oblivious. The framed photo from our company retreat shows 9 people grinning like we'd figured out the secret to professional happiness. I set my bag down and wake my computer. 143 emails. I start sorting through them methodically. Client updates, vendor contracts, the usual controlled chaos of logistics management. Everything I missed while I was busy becoming an orphan. Then I see it. Subject, immediate action required. H. Peterson employment status. My hand hovers over the mouse. Something in my chest knows before my brain catches up. You develop instincts after 5 years with a company, can smell when the wind shifts. I click. Holly, effective immediately, your employment with Summit Edge Logistics has been terminated due to failure to maintain adequate presence during critical operational periods. Please clear your workspace by end of business today. Human Resources will contact you regarding exit procedures and final compensation. Dan Weaver, Director of Operations. I read it 3 times. Then I look at the timestamp, sent at 11:47 p.m. last night. While I was at home, still wearing my funeral dress, finally crying for the first time since the hospital called. The sun is starting to rise outside my window, painting the Boise foothills in shades of copper and gold. My father loved these mornings. He'd wake before dawn to fish the river that winds through the city, standing in the current with a patience that always amazed me. The river moves, Holly girl, he'd say, but the rocks stay steady. When everything rushes past, you be like the rocks. I take out my phone with hands that don't shake, not yet, and photograph the email. Then I open my desk drawer and pull out an empty cardboard box. Time to see what steady looks like. The thing about packing up 5 years of your life is that it forces you to confront what you thought mattered. I wrap the cactus in newspaper. Ironically, yesterday's business section with Summit Edge's quarterly earnings splashed across the page. We'd exceeded projections by 18%. My division, my team's work. There's a quote from our CEO about the dedication of our people being our greatest asset. I wonder if he knows I'm being thrown away like yesterday's news. Holly? Tanya from accounting stands frozen in the doorway, her coffee mug suspended halfway to her mouth. She's always first in after me. Single mom needs the quiet morning hours before the chaos starts. Morning, Tanya. I keep my voice level, continue wrapping the photo frame. What are you? Her eyes drop to the box, then shoot back to my face. No, afraid so. But you just got back. You were at your father's, she stops, reading something in my expression. They didn't. I don't answer. Don't need to. Those absolute bastards. Tanya's voice cracks, and suddenly she's beside me, grabbing the tape dispenser before I can. How are you this calm? I'd be burning the place down. Rocks don't burn. The words come out before I realize I've said them aloud. What? Nothing. Something my dad used to say. I take a framed certificate off the wall. Regional Excellence Award 2023. It feels hollow now, performative. Can you do me a favor? Anything? Don't tell anyone yet. I'd rather not have a scene. But Tanya's face tells me that ship has already sailed. She's got that look. The one that says information is about to spread through this office like wildfire through dry brush. 20 minutes later, I understand the meaning of viral. Jason arrives first, his laptop bag hitting the floor with a thud that makes people look up. Tell me Tanya's wrong. Tanya's never wrong. You know that. This is insane. We just closed Newbrook. The Wilson renewal is next week. The Hernandez contract will be fine. I keep packing, muscle memory taking over. You all know what you're doing. We know what we're doing because you taught us. Veronica appears behind Jason, her eyes already red-rimmed. This isn't right, Holly. This isn't legal, it's Idaho. At-will employment means they can do whatever they want, and you can too. Ethan's voice cuts through from the cubicle entrance. He's early, unusual for him. The rest of my team materializes behind him like they've been summoned. Louise, Diane, Gabriella, Kayla, all 7 of them, forming a protective semicircle around my desk. For the first time since I read that email, my composure threatens to crack. You guys should... Don't. Jason's voice is sharp. Don't tell us to go back to work like this is normal. We stand there in silence, a small island of solidarity in the growing bustle of the office. Other employees are noticing now, whispers spreading like ripples from a stone thrown into still water. I can feel eyes on us, questions forming. Then a voice slices through the moment. What's going on here? Dan Weaver, 6'2" of middle management ambition in a Brooks Brothers suit. His expression is carefully neutral, but I catch the flicker of irritation around his eyes. This wasn't supposed to happen until after hours. I was supposed to disappear quietly. My team doesn't move. I need everyone at their desks, Dan says, his voice carrying that particular tone of manufactured authority. We have deliverables today. Nobody moves. Now, it's not a request anymore. Jason looks at me. So does Veronica, so do all of them, waiting for my signal. In that moment, I realize something that will matter very soon. They're not following Dan's leadership anymore. They never really were. I nod slightly. One by one, they disperse, but not before each makes eye contact, a silent promise of something I don't fully understand yet. Dan approaches, adjusting his tie, a nervous tell I've noticed in every difficult conversation we've ever had. This could have been handled more professionally, he says quietly. I look at him directly for the first time. Yes, it could have been. Human resources smells like synthetic lavender and corporate liability. Barbara Kent, 6 months on the job, still optimistic enough to believe HR exists to help employees, slides the separation papers across her desk with practiced sympathy. She's younger than me, maybe 29, with a framed master's degree from Boise State and a coffee mug that says people first. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm so sorry about this, Holly, and about your father. I can't imagine. It's fine. I scan the documents, severance, non-disparagement clause. And there, buried in the 3rd page, the non-compete agreement I signed 5 years ago when I was 29, and desperate to prove myself. 6 months, 300-mile radius, essentially career suicide in the logistics industry. Is there anything I should know? Barbara asks carefully. About why this happened? The timeline seems... I could stay silent, sign the papers, disappear like they want me to. Instead, I pull out my phone and show her the email. She reads it once, twice. Her professional mask cracks like ice under pressure. This is the actual termination notice? Her voice drops to a whisper. Just an email? No documentation, no performance review, nothing. You were at your father's funeral. I was at my father's funeral. Barbara's hand trembles slightly as she sets down my phone. She's calculating something, risk versus conscience, career versus ethics. I watch the math happen behind her eyes. I need to verify something with legal. She finally says, "Can you give me 20 minutes? I spend those 20 minutes staring at the Boise River through the fourth-floor window. My father taught me to fish in that water, patient, methodical, never forcing anything. The fish decides when to bite, Holly girl. Your job is just to be ready." My phone vibrates. Text from Jason. "They're making us sign new responsibility matrices. Trying to divide your workload with no additional pay." Then Veronica, "Dan just asked me if I knew where you stored the Wilson analysis files." Then Ethan, "This is bullshit. I should feel angry, betrayed, devastated. Instead, I feel something else, something colder and more focused, like tumblers falling into place inside a lock I didn't know I was picking." My phone rings. Unknown number. I almost decline, then something makes me answer. "Holly Peterson, speaking. Hank Fleming, Vertex Transport Systems. We met at the Western Logistics Conference last April. You probably don't remember, but I remember. How could I forget? Vertex is Summit Edge's primary competitor." Hank had spent 30 minutes at the hotel bar explaining his vision for ethical logistics management while I nodded politely and deflected his recruitment pitch. "I heard about what happened." His voice is careful, respectful. "Industry's smaller than people think. Word travels. That was fast. When the best team lead in the Northwest gets fired for attending her father's funeral, people notice." He pauses. "I'm sorry for your loss, Holly, and I'm sorry your company failed you." Something in his tone, genuine empathy, not networking performance, makes my throat tighten. I appreciate that. "I also have a job offer. If you're interested in hearing it." I watch the river move past the rocks below. Constant. Inevitable. "I have a non-compete," I say. "Our legal team thinks it's unenforceable, especially under these circumstances." Another pause. "Division Director, Pacific Northwest Operations, 40% salary increase, full benefits. And Holly, we don't fire people for being human." Barbara returns before I can answer. Her expression has shifted, still sympathetic, but now there's something else. Anger, maybe. Or disgust. "Legal approved everything," she says flatly. "At-will employment. They can do this." She slides a business card across the desk. Her personal cell number written on the back. "Off the record, you should talk to an attorney. This isn't right." I pocket the card and sign the papers. Then I put my phone to my ear. "Hank, let's talk. When can you meet?" Outside the window, the river keeps moving. "But the rocks? The rocks are making plans." Vertex Transport's office overlooks the same river from a different angle. Hank Fleming is exactly how I remember. Silver beard, calloused handshake, eyes that miss nothing. But now, sitting across from him in a conference room that somehow feels both professional and humane, I see what I'd missed at that conference. He actually gives a damn. "Show me," he says simply. I pull up the email on my phone. Watch his jaw tighten as he reads. Jesus. He sets the phone down carefully, like it might explode. "That's not management. That's cruelty. That's Summit Edge. How long have you been carrying this?" He gestures at me, not the phone, but me. All of me. The grief, the betrayal, the exhaustion I'm holding together with spite and caffeine. The question cracks something open. I look away, at the river, at anywhere but his concerned face. "My father died on a Tuesday," I hear myself say. "Heart attack while grading papers." He was a teacher. 63 years old. My voice stays steady through sheer force of will. I took 3 days, Wednesday through Friday. I was back Monday morning at 6 a.m. because I thought, I stop, breathe. I thought if I proved I was committed, if I came back strong, they'd see I could handle anything. A bitter laugh escapes. Turns out I proved the opposite. That I'm human, unforgivable in corporate America. Hank leans back, fingers steepled. "Division Director. full autonomy over hiring and operations. You'd build the team you want, the culture you believe in. No one gets fired for attending funerals. No one gets punished for being human. When would you need an answer? How about now? I blink. Now? Holly, I've been trying to recruit you for 8 months. I know your record. I know your reputation. More importantly, I know your team's loyalty. That doesn't happen by accident. He slides a folder across the table. Contracts ready. Sign it today, start Monday. We'll handle Summit Edge if they try to enforce that non-compete. My phone buzzes. Then again, then continuously. Jason, emergency all-hands meeting in 10 minutes. Dan looks scared. Veronica, Paula just arrived from Seattle. Unscheduled. Something's happening. Ethan, word's out about your termination. People are pissed. Louise, can we talk after work? I stare at the messages, then at the contract. 40% raise, actual leadership authority. A chance to build something that doesn't chew people up and spit them out. I need to make a call, I tell Hank. I meet my team at Riverside Brewing at 6 p.m. Away from downtown, away from Summit Edge eyes. They arrive in pairs, Jason and Veronica first, then the others. 7 people who trusted me to lead them, now sitting in a booth looking at me like I'm about to abandon ship. How bad is it? I ask. Dan's panicking, Jason says bluntly. The Wilson account called this morning, asked specifically why you weren't handling their renewal. When they found out you'd been fired, they requested a cooling-off period to reconsider the contract. Veronica nods. Hernandez heard through the grapevine. They're not happy either. Paula's doing damage control, but she stops. Holly, you were the face of Summit Edge for half our major accounts. They trusted you, not the company. What did Paula say in the meeting? That your departure was a mutual decision and we should focus on continuity. Ethan's voice drips sarcasm. Nobody bought it. Tanya told everyone what really happened. Silence falls over the table. Diane leans forward. We heard Vertex made you an offer. I meet her eyes, then each of theirs in turn. They did. Division director, are you taking it? Kayla asks. I already signed. The silence shifts, relief mixed with something else. Fear maybe, or hope. We want to come with you, Veronica says quietly. My chest tightens. That's not, you all have careers here, benefits, stability. Stability? Jason laughs harshly. If they'll do this to you, none of us are safe. It's not just that. Louise's voice is soft but firm. You taught us what leadership looks like. We don't want to work for people who don't understand that. 7 faces. 7 people willing to burn their bridges because I'd already jumped. I think of my father, the river, the rocks. If you do this, I say carefully, there's no going back. Good, Ethan replies. And just like that, everything changes. Paula McCormack calls at 7:32 a.m. on a Tuesday. I'm in my new office at Vertex, still unpacking, still adjusting to windows that actually open, and a desk that doesn't face a wall. My coffee's still hot. The Boise skyline is painted in morning gold. Holly. Her voice has that executive flatness that comes from practice. We need to talk, Bar. Good morning, Paula. I just received 7 resignation letters. A pause heavy enough to have weight. All from your former team, all effective in 2 weeks. All citing leadership concerns. Say nothing. Let the silence do the work. They're going to Vertex, where you just started as division director. Her control slips slightly. This doesn't look coincidental. People make career choices for various reasons. Don't. The word cracks like a whip. Don't insult my intelligence, Holly. You orchestrated this. I didn't orchestrate anything. I accepted a job offer. 7 people independently decided they didn't want to work for Summit Edge anymore. I pause. Maybe you should ask Dan why. I already know why. She sounds tired suddenly. Old. I reviewed your termination file. Dan didn't consult me before letting you go. Said it was time sensitive. Couldn't wait for me to return from Seattle. And you believed him? I trusted his judgment. Bitter laugh. Clearly a mistake. Your father had just died, Holly. 3 days of approved bereavement leave and he fires you via email? That's not management. That's sociopathy. Something in my chest loosens. Not forgiveness, I'm not there yet, but acknowledgement. Then why didn't you stop it? Because I wasn't here. By the time I got back, you were already gone. And by the time I understood what happened, you'd already signed with Vertex. She exhales slowly. I'm prepared to offer you your position back. 15% raise. Formal apology from Dan. Full restoration of, no. The word lands between us like a stone in still water. Holly, be reasonable. 7 key employees walking out simultaneously will devastate our operations. The Wilson account is threatening to pull out. Hernandez is reconsidering. We're looking at potential losses in the millions. That's not my problem anymore, isn't it? Her voice hardens. You built those relationships on company time, with company resources. You leveraged your position to what? Do my job? I stand, phone pressed to my ear, looking out at the river below. I built those relationships, with competence and integrity. 2 things Summit Edge clearly doesn't value. We can fight this. Your non-compete is unenforceable, especially when you fire someone for attending their father's funeral. I let that sink in. Your legal team knows this. They've probably already told you. Silence. What do you want, Holly? The question catches me off guard. What do I want? I think of my father standing in the river at dawn, teaching me patience, teaching me that some fights aren't worth having because you've already won by walking away. I want you to treat people like they matter, I say quietly. I want you to understand that when someone's father dies, you don't punish them for grieving. I want you to build a company where loyalty runs both directions. My voice doesn't rise, doesn't crack. But mostly, Paula, I want you to watch what happens when you don't. I hang up before she can respond. That afternoon, the Wilson account signs with Vertex. $23 million over 3 years. Hank walks into my office grinning, contract in hand. They specifically requested you as primary contact, he says. Said they follow leadership, not logos. My phone buzzes. News alert, Summit Edge Logistics stock drops 8% amid talent exodus concerns. Then another text. From Barbara Kent, the HR manager. Dan was placed on administrative leave this morning, board's investigating, thought you should know. I should feel victorious, vindicated, triumphant. Instead, I feel something quieter, more permanent. I feel like a rock in a river, watching the current do exactly what it was always going to do. You okay? Hank asks, reading my expression. I look at the contract, at the river, at the future I'm building from the ruins of what broke me. Yeah, I say. And I mean it. 1 year later, I'm standing on the bank of the Boise River at dawn. The water moves like it always has, indifferent, eternal, patient. My father and I used to fish this exact spot, his waders too big for me until they weren't, his lessons about patience sinking in slower than either of us expected. Behind me, my car holds a box. Not the cardboard kind filled with discarded career pieces, but mahogany, with brass hinges. Inside, his fishing flies, hand-tied with a precision that always amazed me. His watch, still set to teacher's hours. A letter he wrote me when I graduated college, somehow both proud and worried, that I only found last week while cleaning out the last of his storage unit. Holly girl, it reads in his careful script, you're going to be successful. I already know that, but promise me something, don't let success make you forget what matters. The river doesn't care how fast you move. It just keeps flowing. Be like the water when you need to change, and like the rocks when you need to stand firm. You'll know which is which. I fold the letter and slip it back in my pocket. My phone buzzes. Hank, board meeting at 9. They're announcing your VP promotion. Don't be late. Executive Vice President of Operations, Northwest Region, at 35. The promotion came with a profile in logistics today, a magazine my father used to read over breakfast. The article mentioned Summit Edge once, a footnote about industry consolidation, after they were acquired by Meridian Shipping for 70 cents on the dollar. Dan Weaver's name appeared nowhere, erased by his own mediocrity. I don't feel triumph about that, just a kind of quiet closure. My team, I still call them that, even though they're scattered across departments now, each climbed their own ladders. Jason runs his own division. Veronica revolutionized client relations so effectively that 2 competitors tried to poach her. She stayed. Loyalty still means something when it runs both directions. Yesterday, I got an unexpected email. From Paula McCormack, Object Amensburr Ollie Burr. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that what happened to you changed me. I left Summit Edge 8 months ago and started consulting on organizational culture, specifically helping companies understand that people aren't assets to be optimized, they're humans who deserve dignity. Your story became my cautionary tale. Every company I work with hears it, not because I'm trying to punish Summit Edge, but because leaders need to understand the real cost of treating people as disposable. I know this doesn't undo what happened, but maybe some good can come from it. I hope you're well. Paula, I haven't responded yet. Maybe I will. Maybe closure doesn't require a reply. The sun breaks over the foothills, turning the river to liquid copper. I crouch down and let my fingers trail through the current, cold enough to shock, clear enough to see straight through. My father believed in signs, in rivers and rocks and the lessons they taught if you paid attention. So here's what I learned. The rocks don't fight the river. They don't rage against the current or demand that the water stop moving. They just stand firm and let everything else break around them. Eventually, the river carves a path that flows around the rocks instead of through them. Summit Edge tried to break me. Instead, I stood firm, and everything else carved itself a new path. I stand, brush the water from my hands, and walk back to my car. The mahogany box sits in the passenger seat, my father's belongings, finally finding their way to his daughter's home, where they'll live in places of honor instead of storage. As I drive toward the office, toward the promotion, toward whatever comes next, I think about that letter one more time. Be like the water when you need to change, and like the rocks when you need to stand firm. I did both, Dad, and you were right. I knew which was which. The river keeps flowing behind me. The rocks stay steady beneath it, and somewhere between the two, I learned how to build a life that honors both. That's not revenge, that's transformation. And it's so much better.